Do you want to just introduce yourself, describe the company, and we'll go into the sort of details of history after that. So, Sami, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, does it work? Yep.
Yep.
So my name is Sami. I'm head of studio in Dodreams, and Dodreams, we are already 10 years old. Imagine that. Our flagship product, Drive Ahead, is turning 3 years already, and that's where we are investing almost all our amounts at the moment. Prior to Dodreams, I was working in Rovio for 7 years, growing the company from 50-employee company to public company as it is today. And prior to that, it was pretty much in stone age of mobile gaming. I was heading the studio called Mr. Good Living for 10 years, starting in 2001.
I think I still have my Playman shirt somewhere.
Playman was great.
So,
yeah, thanks. A great introduction, by the way. I'll keep it short. Hi, everyone. I'm Luai Maine. I'm the CEO of Quantum Shake. We're an Oulu-based company founded in 2015. What else should I tell? Well, we've created 10 games. We've killed 10 games. We've soft launched 3, and we've launched 1 game. And right now we're actually entering the esports scene with a new of a kind tactical turn-based game called Arena Brawls, which I'd love to show anyone interested. So just come and talk to me if you're interested in that stuff.
Great stuff. Anne.
Good. Hi. I'm Anne. I'm the Global Sales and Brand Manager at Ludocraft. I've been there for 4 years, and the company has existed for 12 years. So we're kind of olden and golden, much like you as well. I think we do mostly work for hire, so we're probably most well known for that. As well as from our 2012 release, Air Buccaneers, which in our opinion was super awesome.
Hi, sorry about the whiskey base. I think there was a party yesterday.
Apparently so.
Yeah, so Ville Rauma, CEO of Fingersoft. We were founded in 2012. Probably most of you know us because we hit 1 billion downloads this year, so across, of course, all Hilkan Racing games. So I don't know if we need
that's good. We'll go into more soon, don't worry. Okay. Share mics, unfortunately.
Hello, I'm Ilkka Immonen, CEO of Bon Games. My personal history? I've been in the industry a long time. I think nearly 20 years. I started off doing outsourcing company called Lapland Studio. I'm not the developer or artist or programmer. I don't do anything important that you guys do. I'm just the guy that's handling accounting and that kind of boring stuff. With my first company, I was involved with an interesting project. I did a game together with Wesley Snipes. You might remember that, and it was interesting because when we started the game, Wesley went to jail, so it was very interesting collaboration. Then I moved to Tampere. I worked for a company called Fragment, PC developer. I think there are some people, at least my fellow shareholder here, that used to also work for that company. There was a maybe highlight project for that company was roadside assistance simulator. We did for a German publisher called Rondo Media, where if the car breaks down at the highway, you simulate what's happening there. So that was sexy. That was the game business at its sexiest.
Sexy.
And with Bon Games, we've been now nearly for 2 years focusing on tycoons, mobile tycoons, free-to-play mobile tycoons, and we have our first game, Transit King Tycoon, out for nearly a year now. So that's what we do now.
So let's go back to you, Sami. So at the beginning of the Dodreams journey, what was the primary drivers, or what got you started and going?
Yeah, in Dodreams we actually used to have a, let's call it, minigame strategy. So it was pretty much indie culture where we just made a cool game, and so if it
that's all it takes, just make a cool game.
Yeah, that's. And if it didn't fly, we made another one and another one and another one. And we found that, well, in the beginning, I would say that that's where each and every good game starts, but there's a certain threshold when you need to turn your kind of idea to not just build the game, well, build the game, but develop the company as well. And that's where the indie era kind of stops, and you need to start thinking, where is your competitive edge, where to focus, what is your strategy to get there, if you have enough talent to actually implement the strategy. So that's what we've been doing now, and it's kind of a transition from that the indie minigame strategy to find our edge in the market, and currently it is a drive ahead.
Yeah, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail after. But is that a similar picture for you guys when you got started?
Well, to be honest, the way our company started was from a lunch meeting at the cafeteria of the University of Oulu. So it was me and another guy with a huge passion towards mobile games. And from that lunch, we decided that, hey, let's start doing something together. But actually, in 2015, when we founded the company, we didn't want to start creating games right away. Instead, we wanted to create a framework to create games, because we knew that one of the main reasons why indie developers fail many times is because they are not able to validate early enough. So the way how they create games is they get a great idea, they develop that idea for, let's say, a 1-year time period, and then they do the soft launch, and they see that, hey, actually this didn't work.
And they've run out of money by that point.
Yeah, exactly. So so we developed this funnel model that we're still using.
So that's kind of a very different kind of way of looking. What about you Anne, from you guys' point of view? I mean, do you have a different story, or are you close to one of these two stories?
Well, we're kind of close to you in a way, because when we started the founding team or research unit at the local university, which is also Oulu, so woo, go that university. But basically what it came down to was those guys' love of games, and then when they started the company, they kind of used the connections that they had to kind of get ahead and get projects and see, kind of in a very organic way, I suppose, to see how they would be able to develop a company. And from that on, I think most of the people that we have been with us for 8, 9, 10 years. So strategic-wise, when you talked about moving away from indie, so I think our kind of strategy is still based on what kind of projects do the people that we have love to do, in a way, because we want to take care of them quite a bit.
Cool. Billy?
Yeah, it's. I always say like we're a really bad example of how to start a game company, because the way we got kind of founded was our director of the board and main owner of the company, Tony Fingerus. So he had failed one game company, and then he was like, yeah, I don't want to work with anybody else anymore, so I'm going to do it all by myself. And he founded Fingersoft. So he kind of, other people are in the way.
Well, it's a valid argument if that's the way you're working, you're struggling to...
Well, they were making PS3, really like high-end, this kind of cool pirate game back in the day before Fingersoft. And then all the tech was really cool and it looked awesome and everything was nice, but then... well, the gameplay wasn't maybe that deep, and maybe it was difficult to get funding and all that. But anyways, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna, forget about that." I think he said at some point, Tony said that he saw somewhere in the internet a manual for how to succeed in games businesses. Basically, make something and then cross-promote, and then you're made.
Then that's it. That's all it takes.
And yeah, it was easy. No, but of course this was 6-7 years ago, so maybe it was a little bit easier. But basically what he did was make camera filters before anybody had camera filters. So you had like X-ray vision, you had like cartoon camera, stuff like that. and then he would like those were quite big successes in themselves back in the day. Like you had like 200,000 downloads, I think year one on many of those camera filters, and then he would like make the kind of main title, which was basically Hill Climb Racing, and then cross promote from the camera applications, and then of course he wasn't, and nobody was expecting the success that he had, where he had like I don't know 10 million downloads in the first half a year, which was insane, of course. But
I still remember the massive numbers of videos we had on Everplay. It was ridiculous.
We had the billion downloads party this year. I don't know, somebody leaked it to the press. We just wanted to have it internally with the company, but for some reason people got interested. But anyways, I guess that's the main thing which got the company started, is the cross-promotion and the kind of idea of using multiple applications in that instance to kind of kickstart it.
Okay.
Yes, Bond Games idea is kind of like the first idea is from long time ago. My first company, Lapland Studio, was from 2003 until 2012, and it was a big bankruptcy for me personally. And but I never thought that I wouldn't try again. But what I promised to myself was that whenever I will be founding another company, there will be a very good team and like a killer kind of group, and also like diamond sharp focus. With Lapland Studio, I was doing everything. If you would want me to do massage, I would sell massages. So I did all the mistakes in the book with Lapland Studio in terms of focus, in terms of recruiting and financing and everything. And I was working together. I had an advisor from Sulake Labs, gentleman called Taneli Roininen. And when Lapland Studio bankrupted, I then moved to Tampere, and I remember we were eating Thai lunch or something like that, and at the time, and we together with Taneli, we started to think about what could be the thing that we could do together, and we immediately realized that there is so much to do in the mobile business that let's try to find a clever way about it, and if there is a gap in the market, and if there is something else that other people don't do, and then we felt, okay, let's focus on simulation and tycoons. Nobody's doing them, and then SimCity came out, of course, and was like a really good example for us that this is working, and it was a really successful game, and kind of like gave us like strength to believe in our vision, and that's how we started. And we incubated the idea in a company at Fragment Production for maybe a year or so. And then Bond Games started about 2 years ago, when we took about €1 million loan and then continued the project there. But the key for everything was that let's at least try to be focused, and let's at least try to be clever about it. And
so kind of split as a group, we kind of split between people having lunch with friends wanting to do something fresh, and people frustrated with what they had previously had to deal with. Is that a fair summary? I'm not sure how familiar that is, but it's quite familiar to me. Sami, so as the company is started and you're working on games and you're iterating, do you get a crunch point? Is it something that kind of forces you to think of yourself? I think you started to hint at it as you were talking, that means that you got this attitude change, that structurally I need to do something different.
I would say that the indie attitude is there still, but the focus is crystal clear. So in the beginning, everybody having their own dream of building my own game was there, and it was a good era. But then there is the point when you need to start focusing what you want to be as a company. The building one mini game per month is just not production-wise feasible at all, and you don't create any synergies in between titles. And we realized that, hey, this is not the way to go. And then luckily Driver happened, and it was a quite natural choice for us to pick that horse. And it has its unique flavor, and it has a crazy physics, and it's almost as fun to watch other battles than play yourself. And it was a natural choice us to focus. But if that would have happened without having that, let's try, let's experiment, let's build as many games as we possibly can, I think that wouldn't have happened. But there is a point when we just need to decide where to focus and what we would like to be as a company.
What was the crunch point, though? Was it, a finance one? Was it just, we found the thing? Sounds like it's closer to you found the thing.
We found the thing.
Yeah.
So we just found the game, and when launching first version of it, it starts booming, and that's it. It was quite natural and easy choice at that time.
Exactly. Now, obviously, you guys were a lot more kind of structured when you started than most teams I've worked with. But did you have a similar kind of point where you're going through the process, you're flowing, and then you suddenly realize something has to change if we're going to sort of grow this further?
Of course, and I think we're still, looking for new points, and we're still looking for to learn from our mistakes. We're constantly still making mistakes. We still are an indie company. We started as 2 guys. Now we're 8 people. But yeah, we haven't yet found that peak point yet. But hopefully after this year we'll be there.
But it sounds like you're taking a much more kind of solid, structured mindset than a lot of indie teams would do. You're looking at this process, not just. So it sounds to me like you're building a company, not a game, essentially.
In a way, yes. Yes, for us it was very important to diversify both the risk of ourselves, but also the risk of our investors. And like you said, we wanted to more create a solid startup instead of creating solid games right away. So basically the creation of these solid games is happening right now, and basically I would say that it started this year, even though the company was founded in 2015.
And that says a lot, doesn't it? It takes time to get, to shake out the not debris, but I'm trying to think of a good phrase for it, but the sort of the excess that you need to get to the absolute crystallized diamond experience that you want to be. Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, for us publishing, I know you guys, I think you all publish yourselves. We don't, because it's not part of our core competence. So it has been extremely crucial to be in touch with everyone here at the panel as well, but also in I see that there are some people in the audience as well to whom we have talked to. So yeah.
But it is a massive community. So Anne, from you guys' point of view, have you seen this kind of crunch point where you culturally the company has had a change of approach?
Yes, definitely. Like you said, that we tend to self-publish, and that is something that we did back in 2012 with Air Buccaneers, which was the awesome title that we did then. And the choice that we made then was to self-publish, because Steam Greenlight had just come out, so we figured, like, yes, we can do this, no more publishers, blah, blah, blah. And I think looking back on it now, it's like 6 years ago, so it's a long time. But the learnings that we kind of took from then, when we're now making our own IP games again, is to actually actively look for a publishers so that we can get to focus on our core know-how, much like you do. So it's definitely a learning process, but I think the most important thing is just to not get discouraged by the decisions that you make, but to learn from them and then push forward based on those.
Cool. Billy? Clearly you've gone from that kind of, we can do anything, to, you found the game. Did you have and obviously now you're getting involved in publishing other people's stuff, it sounds to me like you've had a series of those crunch points that have changed kind of your approach, or am I just misunderstanding?
No, it's actually like I always say, every year at Fingersoft is different because it's always been changing so much. I was the 12th employee, and we call it the Dirty Dozen for a reason. We didn't have like any kind of strategy or any kind of clear idea of what Fingersoft will be when I started, like 2014. And we had this huge success, of course, but when you join the company and then you're there and you're kind of, well, what is next, of course, is the question. And we had to figure it out, and it was really like painful process to first start like creating the team and everything, because Toni basically made the first game by himself, and our current CEO Teemu made the iOS version. So basically, you have two programmers who made a game by themselves, who founded the company, and then that's it. And it's huge. But what do you do then? And it was quite difficult process to get into a stage where we actually felt like we are a game company, like we're more than just the first success game. Like we did this game called I Hate Fish, which was in between Hill Climb Racing 1 and 2, which failed. For us miserably, actually, it got like, I don't know, 500,000 downloads in the first year. So, but for us, it was miserable. So you like, if the bar is here, you have to be able to go above it, and it was a very difficult process. But it slowly, we got to a stage where we actually felt like, okay, we actually are a team and we are able to deliver. And then we got Hill Climb Racing 2, which is a huge success. And then now, of course, we're much more confident. We feel like, yeah, we can make even better and more awesome games than we have before.
Isn't this the thing they say in the music industry? It's a difficult second album. Yeah. Because obviously set expectations.
For sure, and it's even like, I guess, of course, like from Toni's perspective, like he basically made the game by himself. And it is a question that he poses to us all the time. Why do we have all these people? I made this game by myself. Why do we need them? But of course, the world is so different than it was like 6 years ago. So it's much more difficult to make successful games now than it is.
Definitely.
It was back then.
So you guys have come in. And you've, we were talking earlier, you've got this laser-sharp focus. Are you already ahead of the game because you've got the past? You don't have this crunch point, or do you see the same sort of transition point of focus?
What do you mean?
Well, with these other companies, obviously, a lot of them have started out with an idea and they've gone through, and then something has forced them to sort of change the way their attitudes. But I think you guys seem to have had a lot of past and history. Did you have a point where you had to sort of really kind of pivot and change your direction or your structure?
I think, well, doing a free-to-play game, you just described it.
Sorry.
There's
of course
constant change that you have to live with. But if I take away the game development part and talk about the company part, I think that the biggest thing that so far we have achieved is, or I feel that we have achieved, is that I feel that I'm working with the best people in the business. I have the best people in my company, and I get a lot of excitement and joy to watch when we get challenges and even if we fail, because these people solve these issues and develop the game and make things better. So it's very, very exciting to watch that when you have 10 people that you can throw anything at them, and you just see how these clever people go into it and they solve it, and they have these opinions and their workshops and brainstormings, and then they come up with stuff that's better. And our kind of like whole history of 2 years has been that everything has been like solved or done as the way we have always thought, and kind of gives us belief that okay, we can do anything, but it gives us lots of confidence for me that game business is difficult and you make failures, there's lots of challenges, but I have the feeling that with these people there's nothing we cannot like solve.
And I wonder how much this is a Finnish cultural thing, because I spent 5.5 years working for UC as Amplifier and Unity and so on and so forth, and what I've always loved is he's very, very blunt, tells me that was shit. But he knows I'll fix it, and he conveys the assumption that he trusts that I'll fix it. And I think, if anyone's got any kind of views on that, I'd love to know. But I feel like there's a Finnish culture which is really powerful, and maybe one of the reasons why you're so capable in games.
Finland is great, and we have this thing in our water, so yeah.
That's what it is.
You're absolutely right. But we have an international team, for example. We have people from other countries, people from South Korea, Russia, Slovakia, etc. And I think there's a pride of being a game developer that you don't want to release shit. You want to be proud of what you do. It's like you compare to the music industry. Yeah. Bruce Springsteen doesn't want to go on the stage and then fucking fail.
No.
So you want to be proud of what you do. So that's kind of the game development kind of like proudness, I think.
I think that's absolutely right. So, I mean, kind of let's get to sort of the crux of what the panel hopefully is driving to. Is that now you're at the stage where you're at, how are you dealing with growth? I mean, how are you sustaining where you are, but growing, moving forward to the future? What are the obstacles that you're facing? So, for any the fundamental question is, what are the obstacles you're facing now, and how are you dealing with that?
Well, there are obvious one. Talent acquisition. So we are all fighting for the best talent. We want to have the dream team, and want to have.
Apparently, it's all in Bond games.
So that's the. Well, still Finland is we are friendly companies towards each other, but obviously when it comes to talent, we always want the best one in our team. Well, others, I think we are still in the transition phase, a little bit from indie to more established working methods. There, learning all the ropes of free-to-play is something that we do constantly, and because market is changing, we need to learn every day something new. There, I think the most important factor what we figured out was that in transition phase was that defining the culture of success. So from indie point of view, it may look that, hey, my idea was picked and my game was produced and everybody is happy. That's not the case anymore when you're more established. So defining what it means that, how does the good look, and what it means if we are successful or failure. And there, raise the bar as high as we possibly can imagine.
Absolutely.
Well, for us, it's quite clear. It's money and talent as well. And imagine living in a small city like Oulu and competing with guys like Fingersoft from, if you have talented people that we do have in Oulu, obviously they're going to go and work with Fingersoft instead of us because, for reasons. But yeah, actually, Finland is full of great engineers all around the country. We have great engineers. I'm pretty sure you guys have as well. But for us, the hardest thing has been to find talented artists. And actually for that reason, I'm just talking about our company and ourselves, but for that reason, actually, we have had to start looking outside of Finland. And we were actually able to find some really great artists from overseas, from Brazil to be precise. Cool. Because actually in Brazil they have their problem is the other way around. They're lacking great engineers, but they have great graphic designers. And money, of course, is an issue for us because we're yet not profitable. We're constantly looking for money, raising money, doing work for hires that we don't want to do because we want to concentrate fully on our own IPs.
Anne?
Yeah, I think as I said early on, and what you guys have verified quite well, is the importance of a good team. And what I found, as I said, most of our people have been with us for a very, very long time. And every time they bring someone new in, like for example me, like I'm new, even though I've been there for 4 years, that's quite a long time. So just finding that cultural fit in a way that is easy, and because we are smallish in a way, there's about just under 20 of us, so that it doesn't take away the resources of the people who do the work actually to guide them and see how the new person fits into the culture. So just finding, I hate the saying of, you know, you need to be a good guy to work for us. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, so I won't use it, because that varies so much between companies. But I think finding the people who complement the thing that you already do is important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess the question was managing growth.
Well, it was more about what the obstacles are, but we seem to have turned into managing growth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there are a lot of obstacles and a lot of problems. So we're now 50 people, and from 12 people, it might not seem that big of a difference from outside, but it's a huge difference inside when you're actually like developing games, doing the things you do, and there's a lot of like also like this kind of growing percentage of people who are not actually making games, who are helping us make games, which is actually really important. And the way we actually think about this thing is that we actually fired the company which cleans for us, and we hired an actual cleaner who is also in our like weekly meetings and everything. So that's like an example that we feel that we want to have everybody on board who helps us make great games. It's not something which you just have a team which makes games. It's everybody in the company, and we try to work towards kind of model where everybody gets to have a say, at least in some phase of making games, so that, because it's everybody is a gamer these days. There's no non-gamers. Well, maybe 2% of the world. I don't know who doesn't play games anymore. But so we kind of want to also have that feeling in the company that everybody has a say, everybody can be involved, and it should help us make better games. I don't know. Maybe that's one thing. But yeah, there's so many things you can say about growing.
No, that's the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think, again, that's also the point, isn't it? That there is no just one straightforward picture, and when we're starting out, we're thinking about, let's make our project. But if we're not thinking about what happens next, why that would grow, how that would scale, what we would do to manage that, even just the operations of it, let alone what happens if you're going to try and build a company out of that. And not everybody likes building companies. Some people just like making content. Sorry, okay, you.
There's lots of obstacles, I guess, in the future. I think that I go back to the team again, and it's all about human relationships, and you have a relationship with your teammates, you have a relationship with your wife, your family, and you know that you can go to places with people that you trust and you love, and you get respect and love back. So I think that keeping that kind of atmosphere is what I feel is very crucial, and it's like ongoing process. And when you can keep that kind of mentality and that kind of culture in the company, then a lot of the things may not come easier, but usually the obstacles and challenges are only professional kind of. And that's when things become a little bit easier, when you have only professional problems. And I like professional problems, and I want to be with this team. I want to be on those stadiums playing for millions of people, and I now know that we're going to be in shitloads of problems within the next year. We need to double or triple our headcount. There's money issues, there's everything. But you know, with these people, you just believe that hey, we can go through that, and we take a hit. But we will do that.
Yeah, that's incredibly difficult to sustain a culture if you're going to double, triple it. I mean, even sitting there in Unity as we grew from like 400 odd people to, I don't know, somebody will tell me how much it is now, like 1,200 or something, maybe, and it's like ridiculous. And yet, sorry, how much? Past 2,000. Oh my God. But I mean, culturally, they've done a lot of work, haven't they, to try and sustain that identity, haven't they, Mika? Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the thing, is realizing it as half the effort is understanding the business, not just making the content. So I could carry on asking questions. I probably shouldn't. Any of you guys got a question? So we've got a couple of questions here. This one's the first. Oh, we'll have to take one of these mics. Sorry. Sorry. Thank you.
Hey, I have a question for Ville. Fingersoft has done a great job publishing other indie developers' games. Can you say how has this publishing side been? How has it grown, and what led to finding the Round Zero publishing label?
All right. Yeah. Thanks. It's great that somebody knows Round Zero. Yeah, it's been very difficult. Originally, we kind of figured that, okay, we have this huge success, so we'll just cross-promote other games as well. So we'll publish other games. I think we published 12 games so far, of which 3 are only Fingersoft games, and one of which failed, the I Hate Fish. It's been like, we always had this background idea that the reason why we publish third-party games is to learn to be a better publisher of our own games, of course, and also to grow the business in general. But then what we found out is that publishing is very different from being a developer. Even if you self-publish, it's totally different to be there for the developer, to communicate, to handle everything they need, from your support to, all the practical work of having actually the game out there. So we always had this, we actually call it the little finger for a long time. Everything is the finger with us, Yeah. It's a joke. But we called it little finger. The idea was that hopefully at one point we would have some kind of entity which can, we can put our prototypes, anything which is kind of looks like a game out, and then see how people react to it, and gather the data, gather like the sentiment and everything. And finally, last year we found Round Zero based on the idea, and that was more like, I guess, circumstance, because Daniel Rantala, who is the CEO now of Round Zero, came up to us and was pitching some other idea which didn't pan out, but we liked the guy, and we're like, we have this. We want to be able to publish games fast, gather the data, maybe make it democratic a little bit, so that other games that you put through there can get some kind of reference. Because the difficult thing in games is that, okay, I made this game, how good is it? Or this prototype, how good is it? It's impossible to know until you have some actual feedback from the audience or the people who actually play the games. So I guess that was the kind of story of how Round Zero got started. And then now we are thinking it's a separate company, and they of course like to say that they are Fingersoft company, because it's easier for them to grow the business. But they are their own thing, and that's the kind of story how it got started. And and the reasoning for it. But now, of course, they have their own agenda, their own things, trying to democratize game publishing, make it kind of smarter. So
Cool.
So that's
I think there was another question behind. Oh, there. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I have two questions, if everyone doesn't mind. First being that, how costly is it to make a company?
How what?
How
Costly is it to make a company?
I think
It costs a lot of money, your health.
sanity.
Yeah, cost. There's a cost for everything. It's it costs a lot of money. But you have a great thing. You have a great team. You have a great idea. You can find the money from somewhere. I think. You shouldn't think about the cost, and this is maybe a stupid thing to say. As a CEO
To quote.
but what you should think about is that how I mean, I have taken economical hit, and I have lost a lot of money, and paid it back, and so on and so forth. But what I think that what you should think, and what I'm thinking is that the next 2 to 5 to 7 years is that worth it with these people, with this idea from my life? Is that kind of, that's what I think. And money and everything else is irrelevant. But is it worth it with these guys, this idea? If it feels like, yeah, fucking yes, then everything else is just things that you do in business. You find money, you find people, and just go on about it.
I think technically in the UK it's £20 to form a company, but that's just the company. Anyone else got any comments on that? Should we go to the second part of the question?
Yeah, the second question is that for everyone asking it, what was the first game failure that make you think as a company that, okay, what we did wrong, what we need to improve on ourselves?
So what was the sort of first game failure where you're going, that's what we need to do more?
Or too many to be listed, but prepare for failure if you are starting a company. But that's inevitable that there will be failures, and many of them, and you need to live with them. And but if you just believe in what you are doing, it's also inevitable that there will be one day success. So don't care about failures. There will be many.
I will go back to Wesley Snipes.
Don't involve someone who goes to prison.
It was a big thing for me to personally make a deal with Wesley. I call him Wesley nowadays. And to him being part of the weekly calls with our team was really, we were boys, and we used to watch his films, and Passenger 47 calling our Monday telcos was like, okay, let's stand up, guys. It's like a huge thing.
I was going to go Blade.
Yeah, but then we came this little bit of the creative freedom for him, and he wanted to present himself as this black, clever James Bond, Jason Bourne kind of a guy that solves mathematical puzzles and does this clever stuff. And we created this isometric 3D game. When people were expecting kick-ass, let's kill everybody with kicks and punches, and we presented Wesley and his character as this clever, and people were like, what the fuck were you doing? and that didn't go really well. If I would go back there, I would totally, kind of research that what's the actual fan base and the audience for this, and let's try to do something that they're kind of expecting. So that was a big.
Can I add one war story here?
Go for it.
Okay, so to drop a title name, back in the days we were fortunate to have a Twilight license. And we built a couple of games. We were quite proud of that, and the license was as hot as it can be. And then it came time to go to IP approvals, and the first comment we got out from the original author was that I don't really like games. And we need to change all the beautiful mechanics we have built to actually trivia games. So that happens.
So anyone got one last comment before we close on that topic?
Well, I can just say that we're killing games on a regular basis, like all the time, and the important thing is to learn from your mistakes. We always do a post-mortem, so we always bring the team in, we analyze what was good, what was bad, what could be done better, and so on. So yeah, like Sami said, be prepared to failures, and be quick with the kills.
One more.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and also kind of be resilient with your failures. It might take a while to bounce back, but you'll get there.
I always like to end these things with motivational piece, and the line is, there's only one thing worse than making games, and that's not making games. We're a little late for lunch. Hopefully you'll forgive us for that. Thank you very much, panel.